Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to CriminaliTy, or if this is your first time here, welcome to CriminaliTy. Today, we are going to be discussing the newest document that came out in the Delphi case. It's like sand through the hourglass. So are the days in the Delphi case. So I'm going to say hi to you guys. We also have a little bit of... if I have time, I'll go through the whole thing. If I don't, we're just going to take a peek at it. But I was able to obtain a copy of the jury questionnaire that was sent out pre-trial. It's like the Wild West out there. Pre-trial, you know, the questionnaire that Bev said she had sent at the beginning of March, and she wasn't going to take it back. And that was the reason that they had to essentially give up the speedy trial demand, and now we have a trial in October. So I know a few of you guys have been asking for that, and I'm happy to say that we actually have it, so we can see what they were asking the potential jurors. So let me say hi to you guys, and we'll get started on the new document. The new document. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. It's finally like summertime here in Southern California. I should knock on wood, because then we end up with like June gloom, so you never know. I just, hey with all. Hi, Nunya. I just finished watching the testimony and Jay's epic end of day rant. I know, he was amazing. I was way behind today. I slept in. And so like I literally watched the Karen Reed trial in my pajamas, hopped in the shower and did this, got ready for this live. Like that's my day today. That's like what I've done. And laundry. I got some laundry done. So hi, Schmeed. So I know you was reading that comment. Glad to be here with you too. It's the Wild West out there. It's the Wild West. What's up, Cleveland Rocks? Hi, Helen. Hey, Snappy Dragon. Carol. Hi, Unindicted. Carrie, thank you. 10 memberships. Woo woo. I'm gonna have to start doing some more over there so we can just like chill and hang out and drink Dr. Pepper. Oh, so relaxing. Hi, Travis. I finally saw that you sent me your email, so I'm gonna send it to you, because I know you wanted this too. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Christy. Hey, Shaz. Chelsea, I was talking to you. Hey, Veronica. Hi, True Crime Fangirl. Hi, Ko. Looking forward to this peak. Hi, Nancy. I hope you're feeling okay. If you can't make it through the whole thing and need a nap, it's okay. You can always replay. Hi, Susan. I know compared to Reed trial, this case seems tame at the moment. I know, it's kind of weird, but I think we're in the height of the Karen Reed trial. And I'm going to do a Karen Reed recap tomorrow. There's like 50,000 channels live on Karen Reed tonight. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to catch some of their replays later and whatnot. I'm like, I'll just do mine tomorrow. Karen, you work super early. Hi, Mez. Good to see you. And Joanna, let me go down here. Let's check on everybody who just came in. Hey, Wayward. Hey, Dina. What's up, Kilt? Hi, Jen. Hey, Brandola. Perfect timing, T. I just got home from Mexican and Marge's with the hubs. Nice. Hey, Grandol. Laundry counts a lot. I don't have a dryer. Oh, yeah. That would be a rough one. You have to give us a 10-minute reaction to the Reed trial. 10 minutes? I don't know if I can do it in 10 minutes. Not that you put me on the spot. I don't know if I can do it in 10 minutes. Was it really laundry or just tossing the husband in the dryer for a bit? You know me. You know how I roll over here. What's up, BGOG? The 10 minutes. I thought that the ending of Cross for Buchanan was not as jaw-dropping as I thought it might be when we were waiting for Monday to see that. I think that, and I feel that way probably because Proctor ended up taking the stand, and he is such a piece of crap. It's gonna be tough though, because I don't know. It's so hard because I know how I feel about it. I don't know what the jury's gonna think about it. Like, are they gonna? So if you guys aren't into Karen Reed, essentially the lead investigator in the case was sending text messages to his buddies talking about that Karen Reed is a whack job. He calls her retarded. He calls her, and this is also to his colleagues, including his supervisors. He talks about that she poops her pants. She's got some medical conditions. So he's like, if you like women that poop their pants. I thought he was a disgusting individual, and I don't know how his community is going to look at him the same, especially knowing that like he investigates them. Now, somebody asked a question. I was watching Vinnie Politan react to it, and somebody asked him a question like, what do you think the fellow cops are going to think? And I think it's going to be the same as like as us, essentially, is there's going to be two sides to it. There's going to be the ones who are like, he's just a fucking cop, and he's a guy, and he's just shooting the shit, you know. They're just jabbing at each other, and this whole, you know, bullshit of like what he did is okay because it doesn't have anything to do with the evidence or the integrity of the investigation. Now, it may not have anything to do with the evidence, which that's not going to be up to us, but I think it will absolutely impact the jury on how much it has to do with the integrity of the investigation. I think that's probably the shortest of Karen Reed I could probably do. So I think he's a piece of crap. What's up, Kit Kat? What's up, Rebecca? Hey, John. You look very sun-kissed. That's why I said it's finally hitting summertime. Do not be led astray. T, stay focused. I know, sunshine and roses. I'm here for it. I did it quick. Hi, Arnhem. What's up, Marshall? Oh, thanks. Hard to stay cool last few days here, heading to our place in Vale. So, oh, nice. We don't have a heat wave. Let me knock on some wood. We don't have a heat wave. We're actually just finally getting some normal warmth. Off the hook. Hi, Tammy. All right, let's see. Nicole? Yeah, locker room talk. You know, and I apologize. It was distasteful, and it's regrettable comments. It's only regrettable because you got caught. Now, if anybody doesn't know, he only got caught because the FBI is actually involved in that investigation. And I would still love to know why and how the FBI got involved in investigating these investigators, because I think that actually would be very useful in the Delphi case. Could you imagine if we got to read like Holman's text messages to like Liggett? Could you imagine if that came into trial? So it doesn't normally. Just watched a Boston CBS affiliate say 10 of 17 jurors are female. Yes. The reporter says female jurors showed physical reactions. I did see some tweets from people in the courtroom saying that there was a couple jurors who like rolled their eyes. Yeah. Oh, Chris, you stopped following the case until you heard that there's no trial till October. I still want to keep up on all the documents, and I still look into a few things. Karen Reed's obviously kind of got me all over the place, and if you guys missed it, we did a Long Island serial killer live on Friday. Freaking sleuths investigate and malicious intent are like super into that case, and then here they are. They're just like it's like a little pull me in, pull, and now I'm like sucked into it, and I'm like I've got like maps going. It's like stupid. It's stupid. I'm like, what am I doing? I got I don't have enough time in my life to be adding this to it. So, but I did it anyway. So, the Karen Reed case, I mean, we're in week 7. Judge Bev said that she does believe that the jury will be able to start deliberating end of June. It is. I know. It's just freaking got me all sucked in. What is normal warmth? It's like in the low 80s now, finally. It's not like midsummer where it's going to be like the 9900, which is what it will get to. It's 56 there. That's nice, though. Criminality, do you know about the 2632 California Mandela Act? I do not. Music. You want me to look it up? Yeah, I won't watch any of the drama stuff. I'm not going to watch any of the fighting stuff. I just want the information on the case. And I'm trying to finish the Prezi because it was so close to being done, and then I was sidetracked, and of course, you know how that happens. See, Susan, that's me. I'm not typically, but this one just, I don't know what it is. This one's intriguing. The only one that I've ever really, really, well, I know I did listen to some Sam Little. But Zodiac gets me. That's another one that really gets me. I think we got a hint of a federal investigation with the question on cross about did search warrants authorize nude photos? CW objects, court overrules. A, no, then question about was searching. Right. I'm wondering if the jury picked up on the fact that, like, how are we listening to the lead investigator's private text messages? Like, I wonder if any of them actually know that. All right. Okay, enough of that. So yeah, now I got like all kinds of true crime on my plate, which is just how it goes. And then I was told, and I have not got to go watch it yet, that there's a new interview regarding Summer Wells. And if you guys know, like, that's a case that's near and dear to me, but it's so dramatic on the social media that I try to avoid it unless it actually has something of substance. Freaking Lisk has really hurt my soul. The torture and the toddler have destroyed my heart. Mm-hmm. I think that might be it. It's just like how people are just so, how does one human being, and obviously there's multiple, but how does one human being just sit there and like plan out how to be a serial killer? It's literally like written for a movie. Like you would not think that is like real life. And that I think that the fact that it is real life is just like, shit. Rex is pretty gross. Hey, post-punk mama. Yeah, you're good. We're just starting. We're just going to get started. So let me see if you guys can make sure you guys can see this okay. I think we're good. Okay, so this is, better late than never, I guess. This is Nick's response to the defendant's second motion to dismiss based upon newly discovered, destroyed, and or missing exculpatory or potentially useful evidence. It's been a while since we read that one, but I'm hoping to have time to go through the jury instructions, so I don't want to go back and forth too much. Caitlin, you're not late. We're literally like just starting on the documents. You just missed all the chit chat. Yes, Helen. I think that's what's got me. Yeah, I know. Weird. So we'll go through this one. All right. Well, thank you anybody who popped in that I have not been able to say hi to personally, but thank you guys for being here. And we're gonna get started. We're gonna start reading. So if I miss you guys popping in, just you guys say hi to each other. I hybrid. Okay. So now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland and respectfully objects to the defendant's second motion to dismiss based upon newly discovered and destroyed or missing exculpatory or potentially useful evidence, and would ask the court to deny the same. There is no basis in the law or fact to support the defense's motion, and it should be denied. Further, there is no exculpatory evidence and or potentially useful evidence that the state has not turned over or is missing or that the state destroyed. Finally, Brad Holder is not a third-party suspect. And there is no evidence tying Brad Holder to the murder of the victims in this case. Now, this was curious to me. The Brad Holder, he just automatically asserts that Brad Holder is not a third-party suspect. How he gets to just determine that is interesting. I mean, it goes the same with, like, he just gets to make up whatever he decides is not exculpatory. If you guys remember, in the motion to dismiss, the defense team talks about how they have the emails from Carter talking about that Brad Holder was a suspect at the time, and that was like right after the murders. Kara addressed this on X. That's good. Okay, so one, that the law is clear A dismissal of charges due to the state destroying or losing evidence is only permitted when the evidence is materially exculpatory or when the evidence is deemed potentially useful to the defense. And the destruction of the evidence was done in bad faith. So I think he's just going to stick with that. If there's anything, we didn't do anything in bad faith, there's just stuff that happens to be missing. Hi, Cold Truth. Hi, Mother of Dragons. Who was his son dating? Yeah, one of the victims. Yeah, I don't know how. He definitely has a tie. But Nick is literally like the epitome of there's nothing to see here. Stop asking questions. And that's problematic because he takes on this responsibility or that he has this right to say that the defense can't ask these questions instead of just proving how they went through and made sure that Brad Holder was no longer a suspect. Like, everybody's a suspect till they're not a suspect. I think if anybody watched the Karen Reed trial, we just heard that one today. But why don't they ever care to just show this is how we ruled these other people out? This is how we cleared them. That's the simplest thing to me. We have like the social media people who want to say, well, they have him on surveillance at work. Well, no, they don't. They don't have him on surveillance at work because they never went and got it. So why not? Like, that to me makes more sense. Like, let's show them how we cleared these people and how they weren't suspects. This is how we moved on. This is why we no longer went down that path. It makes it look shifty. No. My niece's ex-roommate was Michael C. Hall's longtime girlfriend and eventual wife. She literally got to watch Dexter with Dexter. I wonder if she was like, damn, dude, you're kind of creepy. Yeah, because they didn't clear him. They don't. That's why I'm like, how much easier would this have been if you have. I said this about like the situation with Click. When they call Click back in to interview him, they asked Click for all of this information about, all the things that he had gathered about Holder, Westfall, Elvis Fields, all of them. And instead, they're supposed to be exchanging information about the investigation into Richard Allen and how they were able to prove or, to show there's more evidence about Richard Allen. And I've always said, okay, I get it. Like, he wasn't an active cop. He wasn't on the case. Maybe they don't want to give him that information. Why not give him the information of how they cleared these people that he investigated for 2 years? It will never make sense to me. Okay, the defense have not alleged any example of missing or lost evidence that is materially exculpatory or potentially useful to the case against Richard Allen. Nor has the defense cited any example of the state acting in bad faith and destroying any kind of potentially useful evidence. That's frustrating. The exculpatory evidence is defined as evidence that tends to establish a criminal defendant's innocence. Evidence is exculpatory if it clears or tends to clear the defendant from alleged fault or guilt. For the destruction of materially exculpatory evidence to support a dismissal, the materially exculpatory evidence. Who wrote this? This is like Baldwin's repetitiveness, but now on the state's side. Hi, All Eyes. Let me see. Ellie didn't even have Holder's job to attempt to verify his alibi until April, and only because Boucher went around Tobe and someone else took him seriously. Mm-hmm. Let me see. To make sure I didn't miss anything. Music said what I see. Is that not correct? NM gets to determine that. It is up to the judge to challenge the evidence. No, it's up to the defense attorney to show the judge that this information is missing and why it pertains to a third party. It's not up to Nick to say this is a third party or not a third party. Nick doesn't get to say that. The judge will get to go through the evidence that's admitted into trial, yes. Can Nick justify further ignorance, claiming he wasn't even prosecuted during the murder? Well, he shouldn't, because he's had it for the majority of the time that there's been a case. You know, and he's the only prosecutor since Richard Allen was arrested. So, I mean, technically, it all is going to fall on him. All right. Must be evidence to possess an exculpatory value that was apparent before the evidence was destroyed, and must be of such a nature that the defendant would be unable to obtain comparable evidence by other reasonably available means. That for evidence to be potentially useful evidence, it must be evidentiary material of which no more can be said than it could have been subjected to tests. Okay, hold on, I'm going to have to slow this one down. Read this. Okay, the evidence to be potentially useful evidence, it must be evidentiary material, of which no more can be said than that it could have been subjected to tests, the results of which might have exonerated the defendant. I think that would be specific. That's Wade versus State. To be subject to a dismissal, law enforcement must have destroyed that potentially useful evidence in bad faith. Bad faith is defined as failing to preserve evidence pursuant to a conscious doing of wrong because of dishonest purpose or moral obliquity. Well, that's Terry versus State. Those are two pretty big cases, and Arizona versus Youngblood. The defense identify 3 items of evidence that they allege were destroyed or missing, which support a dismissal, including Brad Holder's phone extraction, all evidence of Brad Holder's second interview with law enforcement, and a mimicked crime scene image found on Brad Holder's social media. Okay, let me turn this off real quick so we can talk about this. So there was a search warrant issued and never executed for multiple of these third-party people to have their phones extracted. The second interview is the one where Brad Holder tells them that he was actually being interviewed in Logansport, and nobody's ever told the defense that. The mimicked crime scene photo that was found on Brad Holder's social media is the one that Ryan Boucher from Georgia called in about. Nobody bothered to get back to him, so he continued and finally got a hold of somebody else who did listen to him. He sent them the photo, but they never gave that photo to the defense team. Essentially, anything to do with these particular people just was not turned over. And the argument is that, well, they weren't suspects. But then now, like I said, one of the last documents, the defense is saying, no, we have Carter stating that he was a suspect at the time. They argued that during one of the hearings too, stating like, well, we didn't follow up on XYZ because he wasn't a suspect. Claiming the defense hasn't named any destroyed evidence when they can't because it's, destroyed. It's classic Nick. Yeah. Like they want it, and the defense tells Gold, like, you have to like think about it. Like you have to actually use like your common sense to know if they're saying they have this, they had to have had that. So they claim that these things are exculpatory or potentially useful and were destroyed by law enforcement in bad faith. I think the bigger issue comes to that you have these people who are tipping in, multiple people, including Becky Patty, who is tipping in to law enforcement like, hey, this guy is, somebody needs to look at him. There should have just been a thorough follow through. And I said this on one of the last Delphi lives, like, if I was Brad Holder and I had nothing to do with this, I at this point would probably be just so pissed that they didn't do anything to prove that I didn't have anything to do with it. Like, why didn't they follow up on all of those things? Just so that I wouldn't even be here right now if they had done their job, kind of thing. Let me see. They lost Richard Allen's info because he wasn't considered a suspect. I agree with Chelsea. Don't see how they can prove the bad faith. Well, I think the bad faith would be proven on the amount. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that they're going to go with is like, look at all of the things that are destroyed. Look at all of the things they didn't turn over. Look at all of the things they can't find. And then all of it pertaining to this one group of people. And now add in that Click is contacting them and saying, hey, what about these guys? And they're not doing their due diligence to show that they did investigate them. It's a totality thing. So bad faith is going to be very hard to prove. But I think what they're trying to do is just combine the situation to say, like, look at everything. And if you look at everything together with the destruction of this and the fact that they don't even tell us until, almost 2 years later that they destroyed these things. Like, why did we have to find out right before we go to trial that we don't actually have these interviews or we don't have these tapes? Or Brad Holder's second interview in Logansport. Why is Brad Holder the one telling us about this versus law enforcement? Why aren't they telling us they interviewed him again? It's going to be like a totality. It's going to be like judge, like look at it in its entirety and see there's something wrong here. And that's where your bad faith would come from, in my opinion. Right. Doug Carter from beginning has always said it was in his interviews that no one has been cleared. Ironic though, in a Flora press conference, at the end of the press conference, one of the press agents is talking to him and asks him about the family. And he does say some of the family has been cleared. And then in a press conference after that one, he says none of the family's been cleared. But that's a man of many riddles. I mean, they don't call him the Riddler for nothing. If evidence is innocently constantly destructed, does that become evidence? Hold on. If evidence is innocently constantly destructed, like destroyed, I assume you mean, does that become evidence? Like, is it evidence like to say like, hey, look at all this stuff that is destructed it, like is destroyed becomes the evidence that it's bad faith? I think I get your question. If that's your question, I would say like, yes, it's the totality of the lack of evidence. That's what I figured too, because I figured they called him right after they were doing that deposition where he was telling them all kinds of stuff that they didn't know. I almost think that there is a hold on, let me get to that. I'm going to finish what I was going to say real quick, and I'm going to get to your comments with intuition, because I think that's a great point too. I figured that the defense was the one that subpoenaed him because he was doing the deposition, and I'm almost wondering how much he's willingly giving over all of his anything to say, like, look, guys, I had nothing to do with this. But if Amber Holder was, she was going to testify. I mean, she did testify at the one hearing. She was going to testify at that hearing as well. And that makes me curious because according to the defense, she's the one that states Brad told her like to stay away from West while he was a bad dude, and that they had gotten in this fight and so on and so forth. So I'm wondering, like, now are they flipping Holder to a defense witness? I'm very curious about that. Okay, so this is a great point too. I think the better question is how did and it's not Bobby, this is Ryan Boucher, know that the photo resembled the crime scene? That tells me he already had the crime scene photos way before Richard Allen was named. Why and how? So I'm going to answer this in two parts. Apparently, there was a bunch of weird posts on the on Brad Holder's, and a lot of them got tipped in. So I don't know if this was one of a batch or if it was just an individual one because somebody did know. The second part of that answer is we do have a couple locals that have come in to the chats and I've talked with that say that there were photos of the girls shown to people in the community right after the crime. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily a provable thing, but I trust the source. So it's kind of like, one of those, I mean, you can't really prove that it happened, but very similar photos to types of photos we have now seen and have been spread around. So it makes me think that, did a local see something that happened to know this Ryan Boucher from Georgia and say something? Or was this in just the, I mean, they say Brad Holder was tipped in a whole bunch based on his weird profile and the photos that he would post. It's like really scary because he not only posted that, he, for real, I can't, like, this year he posted 2 days of murder, like that shit is. Well, I know he also has the painting of the magician that he draws, or paints, draws, whatever. If a defense is prohibited by a judge to present a third-party defense, are they also prohibited from presenting an incompetent investigation? No. And I think that that's more probably going to be what ends up happening in Delphi. If you want my opinion, I think that's what's going to end up happening, is they're going to have to show, like, hey, what did you guys do to investigate these other people? And what did you do with such and such evidence? Hi, Hammy. Sloppy and negligent. And I don't think there's much argument on the fact that they didn't do a great investigation right off the bat. And I don't, some say it's too many chiefs, you know, because they had so many different agencies doing so many different things. Like, isn't it weird that there's like this FBI task force that is building a case against these same people at the time that the Delphi investigators task force is saying that there is no investigation into these people because they've been cleared? Like, where's the lack of communication on that part? You know what I mean? How do they not know one over the other? And why at that time, when these guys are like, hey, you know, we found such and such on Brad or Patrick or whomever, why isn't the unified command saying, no, what are you guys doing? Why are you even looking at any of that stuff? We cleared those guys 2 years ago. For them to continuously keep telling us these people weren't suspects, why wasn't this being told to these other people? To these actual investigators who were working on their own case? I struggle with that. That painting was truly hair-raising to me. The picture you just showed, not as much. Yeah, I think the combination of the two are just pretty bad. Appearing deceased in the woods, don't have to be a rocket surgeon to consider it potentially tied to the murders. Yeah, I agree, Mandy. So, but I wanted to make sure I was clear that I didn't try to put out that it was like an identical replication or anything. He posted all kinds of sticks. He posted F's, he posted K's, he posted all kinds of stick letters. He was very big into stick letters. And then you have Amber, who's supposedly going to be testifying that she knows that those are runes and the type of runes that she would have used, like that they used together. I mean, just the picture without context would be suspicious to me. After all, we were hearing rumors from the beginning, right? What about the saying they were posed girls in BH's phone? Yeah. Oh, hi, Stephen Curry. I like how the prosecution doesn't want a third-party defense using Ron Logan, even though the defense hasn't even mentioned him. It's because they know it's him. And every time there is a special task force created, there is a specific threat. Right. I don't know if he's the murderer, but how cruel to the families and the sweet girls. It's just awful. Oh, well, how weird is it that he posts this like pic that's like, ooh, ha, ha, goofy me, you know, the tree falls in the woods and it hits the girls, and then all of a sudden there's 2 girls who are killed in the woods and are covered in trees. He had pics of dead rats he chased and oh God, I can't. And I don't like rats, but I can't handle that. The sticks looked like just piles of sticks to me. Everyone had cell phones. How can nobody know who did this? They ID'd the Boston bombers quickly, and there were thousands of people there. Yeah. Sue says, I understand that Holder may have been legit cleared, but these investigators shouldn't be clearing anyone after they cleared Richard Allen and lost his tapes also. They should shut the fuck up about clearing anyone. That's a great point, too. I mean, we don't know how many people. That's a frustrating thing because if Richard Allen is truly the guy that did this, their major fuck-ups during an investigation could potentially let a killer walk, and vice versa. Their potential fuck-ups could potentially lock up the wrong guy and let the actual killers walk. I don't know. It's so freaking demented. Like either way, I'm just like, and it's like these people are considered like the top tier investigators in ISP, and they're getting promoted. It's scary, and I don't know if I don't know how the crossover will be when it comes to like when the FBI was there versus when they left, why they left, who was their suspect when they left, you know? What are the odds that the person only did that one time? Well, okay, so I have two sides to this coin, because let's say the person who did this is somebody like Richard Allen who has no prior convictions of any type. If it's not him, but somebody like him, that person was immediately put on the television on like the 15th, and the world was hunting him. Not sure that type of person would feel comfortable doing something again right then. That would be a good, like we were kind of talking about this with Lisk on Friday, is like when you're getting so close to being caught, is that when you take the like, okay, let me regroup, let me rethink what I need to do, and try a better way. I know that sounds so grotesque in the concept of what we're talking about, and I don't mean it like that. I'm trying to put my words like they might be thinking it. Or if you have somebody, see, it's just weird because like if you have somebody who's like a serial killer kind of thing, they typically don't start in their 40s. That's an odd thing. But if you have somebody who snapped, and I've talked to you guys and I've said, like, I have really two theories on this case, and I'm pretty comfortable, I think, with either one of them. And in the one where I think that Richard Allen possibly being the guy, I do think it's a snap situation. I think it's probably had some type of anger issues, but had never gone that far. And I think that this is my theory, my thoughts, just mine. You can take them, you can leave them, you can throw them in the trash. That there's a possibility that he thought the girls were reckless, and they potentially did something on the bridge by being reckless, and his brother-in-law was just killed by a teenage girl who was being reckless. And I'm going to go more in depth when we do the whole Teresa theories. But I think that there's a possibility that he was like, you idiot girls could have really hurt me or somebody by doing the stupid things that you're doing, you dumb teenage kids, kind of thing, because of what had just happened to his brother-in-law. And by that being a teenage girl. Now, once again, like I have two, that's one, then I have my other. You would not drive home from mom's house? What do you mean? Hold on, maybe you said something up here that I missed. You have to take the emotion out of it to try to understand. You would not drive home from mom's house? And I'm not sure what that one means, music, I'm sorry. I want to hear testimony from his coworkers. Did he miss work after? Did they see cuts on his hands? Yes, I'd like to think all of that. I would like to hear all of that and see what they all thought or saw, or if he did miss work. There's the speculation that he had Mondays and Tuesdays off, or Sundays and Mondays off. I've heard that. I believe KK got them there though, and I'm not sure at all about Richard Allen. I guess we'll see. Oh, that was a second part, or Kit Kat. I'm sorry. I just meant that the painting was enough for me. Not that the pic isn't sus. It is. And like you said, especially the two together and the Facebook posts and the other connected guys. Yeah. I mean, there's no way that looking at that situation, you would not think this needs to be investigated thoroughly. Let's clear everybody. Let's document everything. I cannot imagine being an investigator and just thinking like, oh yeah, these guys, we don't need to look into any of them. The connections to the victim, to at least one of the victims, the connections to each other, the extreme views of some of them on white supremacy, not all necessarily, but this on some that are proven, documented, the arrest history, the criminal history based on violence on some in this group of people, not all, but definitely a good handful. I cannot think why they would not have been needed to be completely cleared. Yeah, and that's stupid, Susan. They absolutely did have probable cause. I can't, and I don't know about them. Hey, K-Bird, like I've been saying from the jump, this was pre-planned by a group of people, and this group has members up and down the political, civilian, judicial spectrum. True. If we make it to trial, we will hear all about his activities around the 13th, 14th, 15th, especially at work. Ari's attorneys will not make any damning info public until trial. Right, but we also don't really have the prosecutor saying anything additional. And then we go, well, they're just keeping it close to the vest. I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm not sure there is anything else. I worry that there's nothing else, because I think if it goes to trial with what it is right now, I don't know if there would be a conviction, which is, I don't know. It'd be very shameful if he is the guy and then they let him walk. It would also be really shameful if they try this guy and he's not the guy, and then the actual, like I already said this, like then the killers walk. I know they did have probable cause, but how do we know that that is another same situation? They didn't investigate things they should have. Well, I know they didn't. I mean, we even have Patrick Westphal, who literally states they just came to his house, checked on him, and said like, "Hey, what's up?" Pretty much, no body cams, no documents, no interviews until 2023. And now they're asking him for his phone and asking him for downloads of stuff and asking him for his alibi, and according to him, having his son come in to verify alibis. What? Ryan says, I agree, Teresa. I always thought maybe the girls were laughing about something and having short guy syndrome. He was a hothead and snapped, and he normally carried knives and weapons. That's kind of my guilty theory. A little bit. I mean, there's obviously more detail to it, but yeah. This is one of my biggest questions on both sides of the fence. So people are like, well, where's his alibi? Where's Richard Allen's alibi if he wasn't at the bridge? And I kind of go with the opposite of that too. If Richard Allen wasn't at the bridge from 12 to 1:30 and he really is coming from Peru, I've heard both. He was coming from his mother-in-law's, he was coming from his mom's even further, but driving from that direction, and that's why he comes up to the Hoosier Harvest Store from that way, and then he parks at the CPS lot. If he has to be on camera somewhere, then somewhere in Peru, somewhere on this highway, somewhere passing by something. Somebody's ring camera footage. I don't even know if it would still be existed or not, but he's got to be somewhere. So like, how do we know where he was if he wasn't at the bridge from 12 to 1:30, like he says later on? Like, there's got to be a way to put him somewhere at any of this time. It's almost like an anti-alibi, if you will. Yeah, they found the Daybell's kids' bodies by using cell phone data of suspects. And now we know from Lisk that they could go back and get data for fucking ever. I'll email my question again later. Okay. You know me and my emails. Hi, Dean. Can the prosecutor withhold evidence from the defense that exculpates, like that actually shows that Brad and Elvis and that crew are innocent? I mean, it's not a case against them. So no, yes. I mean, he doesn't have to turn over evidence that shows that they're innocent, but at this point, because it's not a case against them, so it's not necessarily exculpatory, but I think I kind of understand your question. It would be more like if they had something that exonerated or proved the innocence of any of these people, it would be beneficial to just say, no, look, here it is. I don't think they'd play the back and forth game of attorneys if they had it, I think is kind of my answer. If all location data was from towers only, the range isn't very accurate. Well, what about just going back and he kept like what they took, like I think it was 16 cell phones. Don't quote me on that count because now I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but they took a shit ton of cell phones from his house. Wouldn't they be able to get some location data off of the actual devices that he was carrying around with him all those years? If Richard Allen did this, he planned it out. Still think it would be the same motive that I think. Even planned, I still think it would be. It'd be like a payback to young, dumb girls that he thinks cause problems. And I don't mean that the girls are dumb by any means, so please don't anybody go clipping that. I'm trying to say like what I think that his brain would be thinking. I think the girls are very smart, so don't take that wrong. Travis, do you know the answer to that question? Hey, Ramblin', 20-minute nap turned into 5 hours. Oh gosh, you're going to be up all night. Who has confidence in an investigation that destroys their own evidence? No, if anybody should. Well, how many times did they go back to the beginning? We're going back to the beginning. We're reviewing all the tips from the beginning. All I says, not sure anyone keeps footage for 5 years and 8 months. Any of y'all have a phone or know a store that can confirm where you were from 1:30 to 3:30 on February 13th, 2017 within 60 to 100 yards? No, I mean from his own. I think I kind of answered that, but since Snapchat, so stupid, StreamYard is on such a delay. I just mean like they have his phones. They have his electronics. Can't they get anything from him? Duck and Felony's question. So her question is, Travis, if they had evidence that cleared the Elvis Fields, the Patrick Westfalls, the Brad Holders, if they had evidence that actually cleared them, would the state be required to turn that over to the defense? Does that make sense? Okay, well, while you answer that, I'm going to keep reading because I want to be able to get through this because I want to be able to go through the jury questionnaire. In regards to Brad Holder's phone extraction, there is no reliable evidence that the state ever extracted data from Brad Holder's phone, except for Brad Holder saying that he gave it to them to do so. The only support that the state ever possessed Brad Holder's phone is in the May 2nd, 2024 Brad Holder deposition. The defense in their motion report that Holder indicated that he was pretty sure, quote unquote, he turned his phone over to the police. In addition to saying that he was, quote unquote, pretty sure, Holder went on to say, I'm not going to say that positively, but I'm pretty sure they took my phone. They took my son's and my phone. The state believes that Holder is referring to February 17th, 2017, where he and his son were both interviewed at the Delphi Police Department. On at least 2 occasions in the deposition, Holder states that the police took both his phone and his son's phone while father and son were in the lobby of the police station on the day they were questioned by the police. When asked how he knew the police took Logan's phone, Holder said, I'm pretty sure they did. They did it right there in the lobby. I'm pretty sure they took both of our phones. Don't quote me on that because that was a long time ago. However, as documented in records previously provided in discovery, Indiana State Police Sergeant Brian Bunner collected Logan Holder's phone at Logansport High School on February 14th at 12:45. Logan's mother signed the consent to search form as the parent of Logan. Brad Holder was not present. Sergeant Bunner traveled to Logansport High School and initiated contact with Logan and his mother prior to the victims' bodies being recovered, in hopes data on the phone may assist the police in locating the victims. Brad Holder's account of the police taking his phone is unreliable, since Logan Holder's phone was actually seized 3 days earlier, and not, as Holder insisted, contemporaneous with the taking of Brad Holder's phone. Brad Holder never says the police maintained possession of his phone or extracted data from it. The state is aware of no evidence that the police extracted data from Brad Holder's phone or ever had possession of it. Therefore, there is no evidence that the police destroyed or lost Brad Holder's phone extraction data, much less did so in bad faith. Further, even if there had been an extraction of Brad Holder's phone that was destroyed or lost by law enforcement, there is no evidence to support the argument that data on Brad Holder's phone constituted potentially useful evidence for the defendant, much less material exculpatory evidence. They're not wrong there. Despite the defense's claims, there is no evidence, either physical evidence or witness statements, that connect Brad Holder to the murders or to the crime scene. That's going to be tough. The eyewitness statements, I struggle with this. I'm okay. The eyewitness statements connect the people that they say they saw, the description of the person they say they saw, to the picture of the person on the bridge. Not one of the eyewitnesses states that they saw Richard Allen at the bridge. So technically, not one of the witnesses would have stated they saw Brad Holder at the bridge, because none of them can state who that person was, just that they believe the person on the bridge from Libby's video is the same person that they saw. And we haven't heard that from Betsy Blair yet, so she's going to be an interesting one. Now, no physical evidence. Well, this is going to be the inference of the sticks, the runes, and what Brad Holder has posted, done, talked about, and have witnesses of him making runes out of sticks. If they can prove they're runes, which the prosecutor is going to be like, they're not runes anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I'll struggle with this witness statements thing, because the witnesses don't actually connect. They don't actually connect anybody to the murders. The witnesses don't say they saw anybody. In fact, the one says the closest person was Jimmy Duvall. That's tough. 2+ weeks to draft up this bullshit. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I guess it's better late than never, but he's just like, no, stop. There's nothing to see here. The witnesses didn't see his face. They don't actually know if he, there. See, always this. I knew I loved you. Okay, let me see if what traps. Hi, DB. Westfall is the one being accused of assault by the underage girls in his past. So if we're talking profiling, Westfall fits the rage against young girls. And then look at Westfall. Hey, intuitive. Okay, so if there's exculpatory evidence that relates to a third party, is state obligated to provide that to defense under Brady? No. Okay, that's pretty much what I said. Let me see. I know Travis says more of an answer. Where did it go? However, it's a close question if it's data that the state says it clears X and Y and they destroy it. Then you get to the other requirements of Brady that would be material and prejudice. Susan, that's also a good question. If the defense actually wrote that, Brad said that, did they not actually have the information? Well, maybe they were just trying to see if there was still this information from Brad's phone, even though if they did have the extraction of Logan's. I guess we won't know that. So as long as we say it didn't happen, it didn't happen. Hi, ATS. Hi, malicious intent. Seriously? Is there any way to get a hold of him? Does anybody have his email? Johnny, come out, wherever you are. I don't know how to get a hold of him. Has anybody seen Johnny? Johnny Kramer? He's got a longer name than that. One of the girls can probably tell you. He's normally in all of our chats. So I have an issue with Nick McClellan saying this because wouldn't we have heard this about Logan's phone and other filings from the defense if they knew? Yeah, unless they're just, like I said, unless they're just using it to the point of saying, hey, Brad said, we know they went to the school. There were actual students that were posting on social media that cops were at the school asking questions that day and talking to students. One of them being the young girl who actually had, not Kyle, the girl who posted the pictures of the bridge. I'd speculate the defense has little faith that they actually have all discovery in all persons. I think that you'd probably be okay with that speculation, their yellow jacket. Hey, Steph Mama. From what I've seen, the runes being made from sticks on BH Facebook were cutting small round medallions like checkers and drawing runes on them, not making huge runes from laying sticks. Okay, now let me show you a couple then, Ryan, real quick. If I can get him to load, I swear. He has a ton where he's like out walking. I was walking after midnight. Where he just makes like letters and runes out of sticks. Oh, look, they already loaded, so they should just load. Like here's one. That's from Brad Holder's Facebook. A couple on Insta. More from Facebook. There's a Y. Sometimes he just comes across them and he would post things like natural runes out in the wilderness. And then sometimes he would talk about ones that he was making. So yes, they also have the little runes. Let me see if I have that picture too. They have the little runes that you're discussing that are like have the initials in the end. I actually think I see more of that with Patrick Westfall than I see on Brad Holder's. But that's just a few examples. So he would put them on Facebook and he would put them on Instagram. Yeah, the runes and the wild runes. Runes can be made out of any material or painted or carved. It is a Sunday. Let's not let our minds run wild. Dude could just be at after church activities. It's not allowed to go to church. You have to choose. It is Monday, though. It's not Sunday. It's Monday for sure. I said happy Monday at the beginning, so I think I was right. It better be Monday or else I worked when I didn't have to. It's definitely Monday. I usually talk to him on Facebook. That's it, or YouTube. He usually streams daily. Sometimes, is there any? There's no way to get a hold of him outside of that, then, huh? Maybe we can. Maybe we can find it. ATS. I'll get a hold of you after the live. Yeah, they wanted his phone before the girls were found. They went and got, like I said, there was a couple of the young kids that posted that they came in there and were looking at their phones, trying to get an idea of where the girls might be. So I don't know. I don't know if I would take that as too much of a looking into just a Logan Holder, because like I said, there was other ones who posted that, but I do find it interesting that they actually knew about him then. So I mean, somebody was telling them about Logan Holder before the girls were found. So who told them about Logan Holder? How did they know? Because remember, it was supposed to be like top secret. Like she didn't want Anna to find out. let me see. So that connect Brad Holder to the murders or to the crime scene. There exists no nexus connecting Brad Holder to the crimes. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, Abby is a nexus all on her own. Now, is it enough of a nexus? I don't know. The defense is relying on pure speculation that data on Brad Holder's phone was potentially useful to exculpate the defendant. In regards to the second interview of Brad Holder done by law enforcement, in his deposition, Brad Holder stated that sometime, he believed maybe a year or two after his first interview, he was interviewed at the Logansport Police Department by two Indiana State police officers, a man and a woman. The state was unaware of any such interview. In the weeks following the deposition, the state has made efforts to determine if any interview of Brad Holder occurred at the Logansport Police Department. Recently, specifically May 28th, 2024, ISP Detective, Purdy's back. Roland Purdy reported to investigator Steve Mullen that he and Detective Lemler interviewed Brad Holder, Purdy, in the fall of 2017 at the Logansport Police Department. Detective Purdy stated that he had learned that Holder had previously been interviewed and the investigation had ruled him out as a suspect. He said he and Detective Lemler met with Holder to learn more about what Holder knew about Odinism. Detective Purdy said the interview was not recorded, nor was it a formal report written. There is no support for the argument that evidence related to Brad Holder's interview at the Logansport Police Department was destroyed or lost. Neither is there any evidence that the Holder interview at Logansport Police Department resulted in any potentially useful evidence, much less materially exculpatory evidence. This is problematic. If we go back to what Purdy originally stated, according to the defense, I'm going to make sure I put my disclaimers out there because obviously none of these people are actually stating any of this to us. This is just the defense and the prosecutor we get to hear from. But Purdy said that when he joined the investigation, he talked to Becky Patty, and he's the one that Becky Patty told that they needed to look into Brad Holder. So he also is the one when it goes, remember the whole the Purdue report that he was like supposedly had seen this Purdue report, but then the Purdue report was missing, like back old school September Franks motion, very first one. He says he goes to his supervisor and the supervisor tells him, no, we've already cleared all those people. And Odinism has been ruled out by the Purdue professor. So this doesn't make any sense. If Odinism has been ruled out and Brad Holder has been cleared, why would Purdy be talking to him, one, to interview him at all about anything, and two, the excuse of that he was trying to learn more about Odinism also doesn't make sense because he was told that the Purdue professor said there was no Odinism. Now, that being said, I don't know how they would prove that that was exculpatory evidence besides just proving that there's obviously some very big inconsistencies in what Purdy was supposedly told to why Purdy would be doing these interviews, or this interview in particular. That makes no sense. I don't know how they would prove that, how the defense would prove that for this specific motion, though. And this seems to be my general consensus with most of it, is the defense has a lot of really good points. I'm just not sure that the motions that they're, or the remedy that they're asking for is the legal remedy to the issues that they have. I hope that makes sense. Like the Franks. The Franks is to get rid of the search warrant. They're not going to get rid of the search warrant. So the Franks, although very interesting information, especially if proven to be true, is, and we know some of it was already proven to be true by the photos, it's still not going to get rid of the search warrant. So I guess they have a lot of very good points. I just don't know if I don't know if these are the right remedies for what their points are. But I don't know if Nick realizes that, though, that this one doesn't really work out in his favor. He's just saying, well, they were talking about Odinism. Well, why in the fall of 2017, would Purdy be talking to Holder about Odinism if your Purdue professor already told you there was no Odinism, which is why you supposedly stopped looking into Odinism? Why would you have this detective still talking to people about it? We didn't do an investigation, so there's no exculpatory evidence. There's no evidence but a shitty video that they didn't even take, that Libby took. This I don't know. This is obviously yeah, things that make you go home. That's where I'm at. Correct, DB. Right. But I don't know, for the purposes of like this, like with the motion to dismiss, although this is very intriguing information that does mean something, I just don't know if it's going to get it's not going to get dismissed. A lot of things are for the appellate record, but I just fucking wish we had a freaking trial so we could see how they're actually going to put it all to use. Now, come on. They were still interviewing Holder and Westfall in 2023. Right. True. Go will not read it anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's contradictory. That's fair. I don't know. This one's by Nick, so maybe. Hi, Steven. I'm so done with being played by government officials. And it's kind of crazy because I think if anybody, all the ones that are here that are following the Karen Reed case as well, or even just know some about it, it's such like a cluster when it comes to like the law enforcement on all ends, on how they collected evidence, how they processed evidence, what they did with the evidence, how they investigated people or lack thereof. It's like you have skewed, and if you add Karen Reed now and Delphi together, whoo, I don't know, man. Logansport Police Department resulted in any potentially useful evidence, much less material exculpatory evidence. Well, I think that it's exculpatory evidence. This will be my final thought on this paragraph. If you have Purdy still doing interviews in the fall of 2017 regarding Odinism, and the person he chooses to talk to about it is Brad Holder, and none of it is documented, to me, I think that you're looking at a potential of exculpatory evidence right there. Because you've already told us, as the defense team, you've already told us you stopped looking at Odinism and then you guys have cleared Brad Holder. So neither one of your reasons will hold up on why you're talking to him, and now nothing is documented. And why Detective Purdy didn't already tell somebody in the Unified Command that he was having this conversation with him. It's almost like Purdy, I'm going to tell you what I think. It's almost like Purdy was still suspicious and was like, I'm going to go fucking talk to Brad Holder myself. Let me take this other guy that nobody's going to give a shit about. We're going to keep it off the record, and we're going to go talk to him and see what we can find out, because the grandmother of one of these girls pointed me in this direction, and I can't find anything where they actually cleared this guy, and I've seen the sticks and how it looks like Odinism. So I'm going to go talk to this guy myself, but I'm going to do it off the record, and I'm going to do it somewhere else. I'll do it at his local police department, and I'm not going to write a report, and I'm not going to fucking tell anybody. And nobody would have known this if Brad Holder himself hadn't told the defense team. So I'm actually thinking that McLeland probably didn't know. I'm wondering if Purdy was doing like a little side investigation. Like, I'm going to figure out if this guy actually had something to do with it. Because he was on it right away. And they were like shutting him down. So I'll be curious what comes of this. What else happens with this interview with Brad Holder and Purdy. Finally, the defense claimed that a key piece of evidence is missing, an image purportedly from Brad Holder's social media that mimics the crime scene. However, the defense not only acknowledged in their motion to dismiss that the image is in their possession, but that they showed it to multiple police officers in depositions. which the officer identified as coming from Brad Holder's social media. Therefore, the defense is arguing that the charges should be dismissed based upon the destruction or loss of evidence the defense currently possesses. Well, discovery rules still apply, Nick. You still have to be the person who turns that over. There is no case law supporting such an argument. As stated in this one, materially exculpatory evidence is that evidence which possesses an exculpatory value that was apparent before the evidence was destroyed and must be of such a nature that the defendant would be unable to obtain comparable evidence by other reasonably available means, quoting from California versus Trombetta. Do you not have any cases in the state of Indiana, Nick? That none of this evidence that the defense says is missing and or destroyed is exculpatory evidence for the case against Richard Allen. Brad Holder is not a third-party suspect. There is no evidence that ties him to the murders of the victims in this case. The evidence ties Richard Allen to the murder of the victims in this case. That the state did not destroy or lose evidence. He's like, because I said so. The evidence ties to Richard Allen, not to anybody else. So stop it. Stop saying that. That the state did not destroy or lose evidence purposely in bad faith. The motion to dismiss is replete with unfounded allegations and distorted and misinterpreted facts. The defense makes allegations that are not true and are not supported by any evidence whatsoever. The state's responses to those false allegations are as follows. A, the fact that Brad Holder gave different answers to how many times he met with Abby Williams does not somehow make items A through H exculpatory. That there is no evidence to support that the rune on Brad Holder's hand mimics the sticks found on Abby. Further, there is no evidence to support the facts outlined in the first Frank's motion. I think they supplied a lot of evidence, but we didn't get to see that. That no portion of the October 26, 2022 interview, I'm going to back up for just a second. There's no evidence to support the facts outlined in the first Frank's motion. If there's no evidence to support the Frank's motion, why was there a Purdue professor to begin with? Why did anybody even ask about Odinism to begin with? The defense didn't start investigating Odinism. The law enforcement did. Now, in your own same motion here, you say fall of 2017, Purdy is still over there talking to Brad Holder about Odinism. The Frank's motion is about Odinism and how the crime scene mimics runes and things to do with the not Odinism in itself. And I typically try to do this disclaimer for anybody listening. There is fringe of every type of religion. And I do not mean that people who practice Odinism or Asatru or anything along those lines are automatically white supremacists, terrible human beings. I do not ever mean that. What the implication is that there is an apparent fringe of the Odinism religion that the defense is putting forth, that they kind of come up with their own version of this. So that's just an FYI. I don't ever want anybody to think like, oh my gosh, and I typically refer back to like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. They were Mormons. Do I think that Mormons go out there and think all their children are zombies and should be rated on light to dark? No, I don't think that. I don't think that's a Mormon thing. I think that's a Chad and Lori fucking weird thing. So just FYI. Hey, the Rockaways. Hey, Sniper. Okay, let me go back up. Anyone still waiting for Nick's surprise bombshell slam dunk evidence at trial? People are. They think that there's going to be some major thing. Here's my honest assessment of that, or my honest opinion of that is, I hope they're right. I hope there is something that makes us all just drop our jaws and go, holy shit, he absolutely did it. No doubt, we're done. We walk away and know that justice has been served. I hope those people are right. I just don't think they are. I think there's obviously going to be bits and pieces of evidence that we don't hear until trial, but I don't think there's going to be any type of bombshell. With all the leaks over all the years, if they had something bombshell-y, I just feel like we would have some inclination of what it is, and I don't think we're going to have a bombshell. And all the little bits and pieces could come together, and that's what circumstantial evidence is you put together a case based on circumstantial evidence. It's basically, the saying is, you walk outside and there's snow on the ground, but it's not snowing, but you can infer that it obviously had to have snowed because there's snow on the ground. That would be circumstantial evidence. Even though you didn't see it snowing, you know that it snowed. But it's almost the same case at this point against, I don't know if it would particularly be Brad Holder, or if it would be Patrick Westfall or Johnny Messer, or who they would particularly want, or if it would be a combination of this crew of people that they would say. But there is a lot of circumstantial pieces that when you put them together, it's enough to question. And why I said earlier in this live, I don't know why any investigator would not have followed up and made sure that these people were actually cleared. And I know people are like, they did clear him. And I know they didn't. They didn't clear them. They went and talked to Patrick Westfall at his house. Patrick Westfall said, I'm not there. And then Brad Holder, they contacted his work a couple months later, and they said, oh yeah, it should be on surveillance. We've got his time card here, says he was here, but they never actually went and got the damn video. Super easy, would have been done. Smokey and the Bandit. I'm more focused on how the state can transfer a pretrial detainee to the IDOC without an attorney or a formal hearing. 4th, 14th, and 8th Amendment violation. Ooh, I don't know. Yellow Jacket, you might know this. R&M, I don't know if you're still here. But this was something I actually was reading an article the other day of a pretrial detainee, and I never finished the damn article, and I was going to send it to you guys. It was a pretrial detainee in the IDOC that ended up dying, and I didn't get to finish the article, and now I don't know if I can find it. I'll have to look for it. If you guys haven't seen the article, look that up. Pretrial detainee dies in the IDOC. Hey, Lynn, the defense has the evidence against RA, right? They're not going to tell us. Well, yeah, but what about the prosecution should have the evidence? They don't have to have the evidence against RA. They're trying to build the fact that they have evidence against other people. Nick's the one who has to have the evidence against Richard Allen. That's a pretty wide blanket statement there. There's certainly some facts that support the first Franks. Right, nothing. They have nothing that supports it. Hey, Nicky boy, your opinion isn't the end-all be-all on what due process and a defendant in double murder trial get to preview to establish his or her defense at trial. You aren't the legal god. He thinks he is. He's like, I said so. It's not important. "500 pages of Franks 1, Franks 4 through Franks 4. Yeah, there is some evidence in there, my guy." Yeah, Rockaways. I know it's just like, no evidence. So even if we just break down the Franks, maybe we'll do that. Because one of the things that's claimed in the Franks is that there is a photo that they were not given by the prosecutor that matched, had similarities to the crime scene of the girls, that there was a gentleman from Georgia that they had to go down there and get. And Nick says in this very motion, oh, yeah, they have that photo, and they've already been told by law enforcement officers during depositions that is accurate. So right there, they already have proof that something in the Franks motion, it has evidence to support its claim. I mean, maybe we'll have to start going through it like a piece at a time. Be like, okay, here's the evidence that says this, and we did that when it came to just like a few of the Facebook posts when it came to, because that was other things that there is evidence of the video out there, where Patrick Westfall is seen. What they claim that he's writing something on the tree, but then Patrick says that he was actually putting something in the tree. We just showed the photos of the stick runes from Brad Holder's social media that he does put on there. We have the Facebook posts of when he painted the hangman and posted that, because I mean there's saying no evidence is completely inaccurate, which is not surprising. Hold on, I'm missing all kinds. I don't hope they have anything solid on her. I would never hope that. No, Well, I mean, I do. I hope they have something solid if they're putting this guy away, and I think they're going to need it, because I don't think what they have right now is going to convict him. Yep. And I don't know how now if Richard Allen isn't the guy, Richard Allen now creates reasonable doubt for anybody in the future who becomes the guy without further evidence. They're going to, if they decide to prosecute somebody else, if he ends up not being the guy, they're going to need to, not, and I don't mean like an accomplice or anything like that. I mean like completely different. Richard Allen would then become the reasonable doubt. You don't think they'd use Richard Allen as a third party? Yeah, no, absolutely not. We didn't know about the Murdoch tape. Nope, we didn't. It's a chicken. My dudes think it's not even a crime scene until cops get there. Much about their definition of a secured crime scene. I have questions. Such a huge case in little old Delphi. Michael Katz said a long time ago that police, I like that guy, that police don't want this crime solved. I think he was right. I have no idea what the ME is going to say. That's true. The beans is with the confession and his info from Jody. I was in a live a few days ago. Creator says it's about RA's digital footprint. Guess we have to wait till trial to learn RA's shoe size. And how big of a, well, I mean, we know his shoe size is actually kind of tiny, but we'll see what his shoe size was on his digital footprint. I mean, it'd have to be jaw-dropping. It's going to need to be some type of crazy, nasty something or other that's going to put anybody over the reasonable doubt into guilty, beyond any reasonable doubt. No, it was supposedly in the IDOC. The article was IDOC. And I think I'm really behind in chat. Are you talking about McClaremore died of multiple organ failure on, I don't know, I didn't get to finish it. I opened it and I was like, ooh, I need to read this. And then I was going to send it to R&M in yellow, and I never finished, so I never sent it anywhere. So I don't even know exactly what happened. It was a but I remember the title of it was Pre-Trial Detainee Dies in the IDOC. Maybe I can look on my old Google, what do you call them? The little windows. What did DB say? Let me see. He won't be convicted on what we know. I don't like his chances at trial with the evidence Judge Gull will be allowed to exclude. Fair. I think that's a fair assessment. I found a USC case, and if an attorney is not present during the reading of the PCA, another hearing must be scheduled, and the defendant can, being charged, must able to defend himself and call witnesses. Interesting. Is that from USC though? I don't know if that would pertain to Indiana, or did you just find it at USC? Hi, holy shnikes. It's good to see you. Read trial, none tomorrow, full day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yes. Link to the pre-trial. I don't know if it'll pop up on there. Did you put it in here? I don't, because you don't have a wrench, I don't know if it'll actually show up as a link if you put it in. KO. All right, let's see. U.S. Supreme Court case ran out of room. I'll look and see if I can pull it up as soon as we're done. I'm taking way too long to go through this, as I always do. That no portion of the October 26, 2022 interview of the defendant is missing. The defense has been provided with the entire recording. that Lieutenant Jerry Holman did not lie in his August 10, 2023 deposition when he answered the question, was Brad Holder a suspect, with not really, no. Lieutenant Holman went on to state on the following page that Brad Holder wasn't really a suspect because the police had encountered him through Holder's son, who was a friend of the victims and was interviewed, and the investigation revealed he was at work at the time of the murders. That the state has turned over to the defense the Todd Quick letter and related reports and interviews after the state became aware that said items had not been previously provided. They were only to you, Nick. You're the only one that would have had access to them to provide them. You would have known whether you gave them or not. The state did not intentionally delay in providing the information to the defense, nor did the state intentionally conceal any evidence in the case. The state did not attempt to conceal the identity of the Purdue professor, nor does his testimony contradict the testimony of Lieutenant Holman. This professor, Dr. Turco, spelled wrong, has stated under oath that it is the defense who has mischaracterized his testimony rather than Lieutenant Holman. Bullshit. See, this is the trickery that he does, and I'll go back and pull this back up. Nick tries to say some crap about, was it like number 12? You go to number 12 where they say, you know, the Professor Turco should have said X, Y, Z, 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 and he, you know, and he says that's a misrepresentation of or mischaracterization of what I said. Well, of course it is, because that's not what they weren't saying he said that. They were saying if he was actually given the information correctly, he would have written something along those lines. But they skipped the middle paragraph where they're saying this is what he said. So no, there's no under oath that the defense is who mischaracterized his testimony rather than Lieutenant Holman. Well, we don't know. I mean, maybe in a deposition, something like that. But Nick McClelland is the one who absolutely mischaracterizes that. And if that's the question for anybody, we can go back and pull the fucking paperwork because, or I'll go back to my old live and clip it, because he absolutely cites the one where the defense is saying, you know, Professor Turco instead should have written something along blah, 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 blah. But he would have known any of that information because he didn't have that information. So it was obviously not what they were saying he did say. They were saying he would have said or should have said had he had the right info. Hi, Anna. That the state did not intentionally delay providing the extraction data from Liberty German's phone, nor did the state conceal exculpatory evidence from said phone. Okay, well then why didn't you give it over? Where's your excuse for that? There was no reason to not give over the data from Libby's phone. The state did not conceal or report involving documented communication between Carroll County. Oh, just to touch on this, because Libby's phone is used in the PCA, the discovery rules when it comes to the phone are different than the discovery rules that where people are like, well, they have 10 days before trial, or there wasn't a deadline for discovery. Indiana's, and I have to pull them back up before I want to say it verbatim. It's like 30 days they have from the reading of the PCA to turn over any evidence that has to do with the PCA, which is why when you look at the PCA, it has like a list of like 12 witnesses on there. Those are the witnesses that are talked about in the PCA, not the ones that are necessarily going to be called at trial. It's like saying, these are the people we're getting these statements from. This is the evidence. Here you go. Here's all the evidence we used to arrest your client. Now, there's obviously different discovery deadlines as they're processing evidence and putting things together, you know, getting results from certain certain evidence that they had sent into the lab. Those are all different. But the phone, there's no excuse on why they didn't have the data from the phone extraction, because it's what they used in the PCA. That's what they used to arrest Richard Allen. There should not have been a delay. So he's just saying we didn't intentionally do it. So he knows there's something wrong, but he's just saying like it was an oversight, essentially. We didn't do it on purpose. There's no excuses or why that happened. He's just saying it wasn't intentional. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Who am I to say? The state did not conceal a report involving documented communication between Carroll County Prosecutor's Office Investigator Steve Mullen and Indiana State Trooper Blotcher, nor is the information in the communication in any way exculpatory or even potentially useful. Now, this has to do with that geofencing, which is still, I don't know. They're saying like we don't want to use. Oh no, this isn't. No, Blotcher's the one. Blotcher's the one who was pinging the phone. Blotcher's the one who was pinging the phone. He says this information isn't even useful. I don't know why Nick thinks that he can say what is useful to the defense and what isn't. Oh, I wonder if I can, Big Fish. I wonder if they have them. From the very first ones? Oh, gosh. Everyone thinks 5'5" is extremely short, but considering the worldwide average height is 5 feet 7.5 inches, it doesn't seem out of the ordinary to me. Check out the American average for a male, especially Caucasian male, and see what the average height is in America for a Caucasian male, and tell me what the average is. Because I bet I'm wondering if it's still 5'7". If you go with world, that doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of nationalities that are much shorter. You can't tell me that B&R didn't ask repeatedly for that stuff before making a filing. Well, now they can't even talk. They're not even allowed to talk to each other. They have to do everything in filings. The average for that is 5'9". That makes sense. Sonic says, I made a song earlier about the Delphi murders called Timeline Creek, the Delphi murders. You excuse incompetent. You must be talking to Nick music. Yeah, because he's like, yeah, no, that's not a big deal. So he's saying that it's not even useful. But it was useful for them the night they're searching for the girls. Why would that not be useful to the defense to have on what they use to find the girls? Do you know what I mean? And I don't know why Nick gets to say what's useful to them or not. Not when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like when it comes to the actual, like how they were locating the girls. That is also why Tobe contacts the fire department and tells them, "Hey, we got the last ping, and it's at the location of the bridge. We want to go back out there." That I think that would be important if that's why they're back out there searching. Who am I? Once again, that the defense conclusion that the 6.5 years after a complex criminal investigation began, officers had different recollections of what other officers believed during the investigation is somehow proof of a conspiracy to conceal officers' actual beliefs is very strange. The state does not know how that would ever be exculpatory or even potentially useful in the prosecution of Richard Allen for murder. Oh, Heather. Carol, any legal eagles taking up Gold's denial to recuse herself? No, not that we're aware of yet, Carol. Not that we're aware of. I just love he's like he's like them thinking that the officers' thoughts on what the other officers think is proof of a conspiracy. No, it's not. It's not proof of the conspiracy, doofus. It's proof that they're lying, which creates more of the circumstantial evidence of some type of setup, cover up, frame job, anything you want to call it. This is so it's actual beliefs. It's very strange. I just can hear him saying it like it must be very strange. It's a very strange thing to think. Well, no, not really. I mean, you want to go to that is your proof of conspiracy. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a bit of a personal story. No, it's not too personal, but just about me. So my husband, when we argue, he argues to the point of what the argument is. And maybe this is a guy thing. So you guys that are in chat, you guys are gonna be like, yeah, that's how you do it, because that's what it's about. So like if something happens, let's say, I'm gonna say something stupid. So I wear sandals and he always has his shoes on. And so he steps on my foot. And I'm like, say you're sorry. Like you stepped on my foot, like apologize. And he's like, I don't need to apologize. This is something totally dumb. We don't actually fight about this, but this is an example. And he'll be like, I don't need to apologize. Like you should wear shoes. And so I'm like, excuse you, like, wait a minute, I should wear shoes. You should just apologize. You stepped on my foot. And so he'll go, well, you were walking this way and I was walking that way. And I'll be like, well, what about the 50,000 times you stepped on my foot? you step on my foot all the time and you don't ever apologize. And he's like, we're not talking about all the other times that like I stepped on your foot. We're talking about this time and what you were doing this time. And I'm like, no, all the times that you've done this, you don't ever apologize and you should apologize. So he argues the point of what is happening at that precise moment, like that one little bit of topic. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no. Like we have this entire situation that this occurs over and over and over again, and it's much bigger than you just doing this one time. That means never having to say. So my point is that's how I feel like Nick argues. So he argues this one point. So he says, okay, now the officers over many years have had different beliefs about the investigation. So how does that prove conspiracy? Just because they don't actually remember each other's beliefs. Okay, obviously, when you do it that way, it doesn't. If you break it down like that, it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't. That's like the same thing. It's like, no, you're just arguing about this one piece. Cover your damn toes, use sense. No music. I wear sandals. Yeah, it's a stupid size 17 shoes. Yeah. It's a man-woman thing because we don't say anything and we hold shit in and throw it out all at once. Oh, no. I throw it out every single time. The previous transaction of prior bad acts, T. I think your evidence of footstepping is admissible. Exactly. And the lack of apology. So it's the totality of all the times. It's not like it was just an accident this one time. It's like something that happens repetitively and circumstantially. If you put that together, it almost can prove like there's an intent. Like, you know, I have sandals on, you know, you have shoes on, and yet you still step on my feet all the time. See? So he breaks it down into like, okay, so yeah, if I'm just out here be like, oh my God, so-and-so doesn't remember what so-and-so thought back in the day. They're conspiring. Well, no, that sounds dumb. But when you add in together that there is two people, Liggett and Holman, and that's who they're referencing, is that, no, Lesenby and Liggett, I think it actually is. Lesenby and Liggett. That Liggett goes in for his deposition and says, nope, I think it was this guy all by himself. You know, he did it alone. And then you have Lesenby who goes in there was like, well, Liggett was just telling me not that long ago that he definitely thought it was two people. That on its own isn't going to take you anywhere. But that, along with a lot of other shit, is going to be important because you have him coming into a deposition and lying that he's never said in his recent memory, or he could just be like, I don't remember it. Like, look at fucking Furman. Takes the stand and said he never said the N-word. All of a sudden, here's a tape of him saying the N-word. Guess what? He's a fucking liar. It does. Wearing size 17s around a sandal wear seems like a reckless disregard for potential damages. Yes. I'm going to tell him that, DB. He thought I was reading a troll comment. It's just Nick's point. Yeah, no, that's just Nick. He's like, that doesn't prove anything. I just like, it's like actual beliefs is very strange. No, Nick, I don't think it is. I don't think it's strange. And the totality of everything, and you're a prosecutor, you know what that means. Well, fuck, maybe not. The Department of Natural Resources officer Dan Doolin testified that he prepared a written report of his interview. When did he testify? Interview of the defendant, but could not locate any evidence, this must be in his deposition, that he had recorded his interview of the defendant and therefore believes he did not record it. However, he testified that he prepared his written report very soon after his interview and would have no reason to destroy the recording. Okay. And he also, I think they're forgetting the part that he does say he typically recorded everything. So I'm wondering, I think the biggest way to prove something like this, because essentially all they're having to do is just prove the lack thereof and the negatives and everything instead of what there is versus what there isn't. If they look at Dan Doolin and him taking these reports on whatever day, I've heard multiple, 13, 14, 15, I've heard all three at this point, are all the other interviews that he did with potential witnesses, potential people, are they all recorded? Are they all recorded? And only Richard Allen's is gone? Because that means a lot more. Now, if Dan Doolin's just camera's not working that day, I mean, I think that might be another issue, but it's not to the same one. The retrial all over Google, missing video, lost phones, no one out of the house. Deleted texts and calls, inverted video, nasty text messages. When does it all just come together? Right. Totality. Mata loves that word. But I do think that when we're talking about like the DVR like recording over itself, it's not just missing information about Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, Johnny Messer. It's missing a whole bunch of stuff, which is still problematic. But like with Karen Reed's case, it just so happens that every piece that seems to be missing has to do with her taillight and when her taillight was broken. That's way more suspicious to me than idiots who go and take stuff and take their evidence and put it in shop and save bags or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Has an unfair advantage. The laugh makes me want to party. I win. Nick says, well, Doolin said, okay, Nick says, well, Doolin said he didn't delete. So you can't prove he did it on purpose. Right. If he didn't delete it, you couldn't prove he did it on purpose. Doolin's depot said he went through his other recordings to make sure it wasn't mislabeled and he couldn't find it. Right. So I'm just wondering how many other ones are missing. I thought Skinner took RA info. That's been a rumor. We've never heard that from any reliable source, like as in any type of court document or anything like that. That's never been, Skinner has not been mentioned. There is, I don't know, I think that's just something that we're going to have to figure out with it, because he calls the tip line and then goes and meets with Doolin at the grocer. So a deleted 77 hours is less suspicious. No, it's different suspicious, like a different category of suspicious. I just mean because it has to do with a lot of people. Everything in Karen Reed's that has some type of destruction has to do with her taillight. It has to do with one category. I just mean it's different. It's a different suspicious. Dolan wrote that up based on his memory. Is that what Nick is saying? Well, he wrote the report shortly after. His written report was very soon after his interview, so it's not even during it. It's not even during it. Why isn't he like taking... What about his notes? Did he keep his notes, I wonder? That the image that the defense believed is a mimicked crime scene image is not missing. The defense is in possession of the image. Once again, that's not how discovery rules and laws work. Nick, you are supposed to give over the discovery material. I still don't know why the defense had to drive down to Georgia to get it, but it is what it is. That Brad Holder is a key third-party suspect is false. Again, there is no evidence tying Brad Holder to the crime. The defense cannot meet its burden to even allege that he is a third-party suspect. Well, I don't know, Nick. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if they meet it or not, because I think that I'm at the point right now, I think that the defense has turned Brad Holder into a defense witness. Hey, Roxanne, how does Nick know that Ellie doesn't have the things like BH's phone extraction and they didn't turn it over to Nick, like Anne is insinuating in the Koberger case? It's very possible. I mean, the prosecutor can only go off of what the law enforcement's telling him. It is kind of the same thing as Koberger. You know, and that's why, like, Bill Thompson will constantly say things along the lines of, like, if I have it, they have it. If I have it, they have it. Devil Went Down to Georgia. I remember the song. I remembered it. Hi, Humanimal. 77 hours isn't all necessarily Libby and Abby. Right, but I think it's more if we can find anything that pertains to just Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, Johnny Messer, Rod Abrams, if that whole situation is everything that's excluded, but yet remember, Nick says, you know, we gave them over everything, even if it was exculpatory. We didn't go through it to see what they were getting. We just gave it to them. Well, now he's saying like, no, we didn't give them this or we didn't give them that, but he in his own filing says he gave them everything. Hold on, real quick. So how could he say I gave them everything, whether it was exculpatory or not? We didn't even go through and like categorize it that way, but then say, oh, oops, here's all the stuff that we didn't give them, and it only happens to be about Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see what I mean? Then that becomes the same type of situation that I feel like it's in Karen Reed. It pertains to one subject. That creates more of a cover-up, or more of a framing, or more of a whatever you want to call it. Now, missing 77 hours of video is absolute incompetence and bad policing. That's like I try to give credit to the cops who are out there trying to collect any evidence at the beginning of Karen Reed. They thought they were out there doing a really good job. They were like, oh yeah, we're doing a really good job. And it's like, no, you're not. The BK case has the federal grand jury issue, so she knows a lot of that stuff exists, but state won't turn it over because it's sealed. That's true too. That is kind of a different ball game. Poor Pitt says he's a liar just like his daddy. When was the last time they solved anything? A crossword, a word? They do a lot of traffic violations and a lot of drug stuff, and it's a lot of plea deals. Nick does a lot of plea deals. No, I had to yawn anyway. It wasn't your comment. All right, so I don't know. This is the same back and forth. I don't buy the bullshit. Nick wants to sell the bullshit. I just don't buy Nick's bullshit. I do not agree. Now, let's go and take a look. I'm gonna take a drink of soda. Maybe it'll wake me up. So we were fortunate to get a copy from somebody who received the jury questionnaire in Allen County. Hi, Eris. And they were kind enough to share it with me. They obviously want to remain anonymous and don't want to, you know, be blasting it everywhere, but it will give us a little bit of insight into what the lawyers were asking and what the judge was asking. So this is the Allen Superior Court Important Instructions, March 11th of 2024. Please retain this instruction page for future reference. Upon receipt of this special questionnaire packet, we ask that you please fill out the questionnaire entirely and return it in the enclosed envelope within 7 days. Please answer all questions to the best of your ability. Please write your juror ID number at the top of this instruction page. Also, please make sure you know your juror number when communicating with the jury office. You will be notified by mail of the specific date and time when your appearance at the Allen County Courthouse for jury service will be required. Because remember, they were picking a jury from Allen County. They were going to select the jurors in Allen County. Then they were going to transport them down to Carroll County, where they had stay planned for them at a hotel, I would assume. Okay, so here we go. Carroll County Circuit Court, jurors confidential data form, name, age, home address. If you have lived in any other addresses in the last 5 years, please list each of the addresses. Some of it's just kind of, you know, regular old mumbo jumbo that you think they'd be asking anybody who's going to potentially be on the jury. So not all of it is overly exciting, but I don't want to skip something where then people are like, well, why'd you leave that out? Hi, Erica. Finally catching a live. Went whitewater. What? That sounds fun. What is your occupation and who is your current employer? If you are married or if you live with a companion, what is his or her name? If you are married or if you live with a companion, please list his or her employers for the last 3 years, including his or her present employer. With respect to other members of your household, if any, please state their names, ages, occupations, and employers if applicable. Have you or anyone else close to you ever been the victim of a violent crime? If yes, please explain. Are you or any member of your family related to or a close friend of any law enforcement officer? If yes, please explain. Have you ever been called for jury service before? If so, were you seated as a juror? If so, was it a civil or criminal case? What was the outcome of the case? What concerns you most about the jury system? I know they want to know like all the things. Have you ever appeared as a witness in court? If so, was it a civil or criminal matter? If so, for whom did you testify? Have you or any member of your family ever been involved in a lawsuit? If so, please describe briefly the type of lawsuit and the outcome of the proceeding. How much education have you completed? Grade school, high school, college, graduate school, vocational school, or specialized training? Have you or any members of your immediate family served in the military? If so, when and in what branch? You think the military question would have to do with Richard Allen being in the military? Or do you think that's a general question? How do you feel about hair gel? Are we supposed to give Ellie all kinds of leeway while we shut the defendant up? No, absolutely not. Probably a general question. Okay. How do you keep up with the news? Select all that apply. TV, newspaper, magazines, friends. I don't keep up with the news. How often do you read the newspaper? Daily, weekly, monthly, once in a while, never. Which books, newspapers, or magazines, if any, have you read in the last 3 months? Which television programs, if any, do you regularly watch? What podcasts, if any, do you regularly listen to? Thought that was interesting to be added in there. What social media platforms do you use? How reliable do you believe the media is? Very reliable, somewhat reliable, not reliable. Please explain your answer. Are you familiar with the investigation and or prosecution of Richard Allen for murder? Yes or no? If yes, what do you know about the case? Have you heard any discussions in the local community about the prosecution of Richard Allen for murder? Yes or no? If yes, what have you heard? Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing. But I mean, that is his charges. But have you formed an opinion about what you have heard about this case such that your opinion would interfere with your ability to decide this case by what you hear in court? Yes or no? Please explain your answer. Well, for anybody who didn't know anything about the Richard Allen case, they now know that it's for murder. But I mean, they would have learned that anyway. But still, I mean, it's just kind of an interesting way to put it in there. I think I read this one. Have you formed an opinion of this case such that your opinion would interfere? Yes. Please list any organizations or associations to which you belong or are interested in, such as PTA, social clubs, political organizations, etc. Please list any organizations or associations to which your spouse, if any, belongs or is interested in. Please list any religious organizations to which you or your spouse belongs or is interested in. Might have to answer in a way to be involved because it's interesting. Yeah. Is this a normal format? Is this a Word doc? Yeah, it was just mailed to them like in just a regular old like printout. It was mailed to them. They're supposed to fill it out and then mail it back. Yeah. I don't know. I've only gotten jury duty once. Well, I technically got it twice, but the second time they canceled on me, and I was really pissed because it was actually going to be at the O.J. Simpson courthouse, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to let that go at some point in my life. The other one, I was just given jury duty, and I just went in there. There was no questionnaire or anything. Like, they asked us questions when we were sitting there in the courtroom, and then they narrowed it down, and then they picked the jury, and that was like it. So I don't know. I've never seen anything like it, but I know that there's typically are questionnaires. I don't think I've ever really seen any that are just like 13 pages long, just typed out like that. I'd have to look. I think, you know what? I think Karen Reed's is actually out somewhere. Maybe I'll look up hers. I wonder if anyone replied Odinism. Oh, wait. We'll get there. Gold said she has one of the most sophisticated wire thingies in the country and made a big deal about letting defense use it. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Maybe it is sophisticated. Do you have any disabilities or health-related problems which would make it difficult for you to serve as a juror? Is there any information which you would like to provide to the court that you believe is relevant to your ability to serve as a juror in this case? Do you or have you suffered from mental illness? If answered yes, please explain. Do you have any pressing matters which would make it impossible for you to serve as a juror during the time frame of May 13th through May 31st? That was one of the things I wanted to know, was did she actually have the dates in there? Have you ever heard of the Delphi Murders? Do you have a family member or close friend who works in the legal system as a judge, a lawyer, a court reporter, a paralegal, a legal secretary, or law enforcement officer? If you answered yes, please explain. Have you or anyone close to you been convicted of a felony? Blank. If you answered yes, please explain. Are you currently on probation or serving a sentence of house arrest, work release, or under suspended sentence? Have you or anyone close to you been prosecuted for criminal offense in Allen County and or in Carroll County? This does not include traffic infractions such as speeding. Do you believe that the jury system in this country is a fair system? Yes or no? Please explain your answer. Have you ever seen anything on television related to this case? I mean, they could have, they put in a bunch of questions like about personal stuff right in the middle of asking about the murders. Holy shnikes, what if you have a service animal? They should ask that. They're going to have anybody who can serve as a juror. The felony one. Have you ever seen anything related to the case on television? Are you part of an online group, a YouTube channel, or other internet-based organization that has discussed this case? If so, what group? No matter what you have heard or seen about this case, and no matter what opinions you might have formed, what difficulty might you have putting all of that aside and deciding this case only on the evidence you receive in court, following the law, and deciding the case in a fair and impartial manner? Now, this is a question people are like, they're going to have a hard time finding 12 people that have never heard about this case. And I try to tell people, the jurors don't have to have never heard about the case. They just really shouldn't be like immersed in it like some of us are. But they can like have heard about it on TV. They can have listened to something on it. As long as they believe they can still remain impartial, typically they're still okay to be on the jury. Now, that's obviously up to the prosecutor and the defense lawyers. The jury is told not to read, watch, or listen to news accounts of a trial they are involved in until it's over, and not to talk to anyone about the case, and to not post anything on social media or elsewhere, including through jury deliberations. What difficulty might you have following these instructions for any reason? Okay, so now here's like the little checklist. So you're going to write you either strongly, you disagree strongly, you disagree somewhat, you're neutral, no opinion, you agree somewhat, or you agree strongly. So you're going to check the one that applies to you. The prosecution will accuse who they want, regardless of the facts. That's interesting. Do you agree, disagree, disagree strongly? You're neutral, you don't have an opinion on that. I really don't know how they get a jury at all with the case with these questions. I know, right? Well, I think some of them are just to know. I don't know how. I don't know. They can't like be like, oh, you can't be on the jury. You have a disability. Common sense and experience and intelligence. Oh, Greenlee, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. But welcome in. We went over the response to the defense's motion to dismiss, and now we're looking at the jury questionnaire to the trial that never was. This was the questionnaire that was sent out to prospective jurors by the clerk of the court on behalf of Judge Gull in March of 2024 for the trial starting in May. It would be hard to figure out what answers they want. Yeah. Okay, so no investigation is perfect. It's better to find a defendant innocent than to risk making the wrong decision. Ooh. It's better to find a defendant guilty than risk making the wrong decision. Lawyers tend to overreach when representing their clients. Law enforcement usually takes shortcuts. Criminal trials make our communities safer. That is a weird one. It is unfair to hold someone guilty of a crime if they only participate in a small part of the crime. I wouldn't know how to answer that because it depends on what they're charged with. When a defendant goes to trial in a criminal case, he's usually guilty. Oh. Now here you go. I think you guys will like this part. Do you know any of the following people who may be involved in this case? So we've got Nick, Brad, Andy, Richard, and Kathy. So Rick and Kathy. The victims, Libby and Abby. Kelsey, Jerry Holman, Tony Liggett, Steve Mullen, Jay Harper, Dave Vito, Tobe Lesenby, Keegan Klein, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Rod Abrams, and Ron Logan. Right. They do not name his child. No. Can't stay hanging with my daughter, but wanted to say hi. Catch you on the replay. This looks very interesting and hilarious. It's okay, Greenlee. I love you anyway. Go have fun with your daughter. Ooh, thank you, Heather. $1.99. I know. The big guy's like, oh shit. And we've got Ron Logan. Last as always, but they know he's first. He's always first on your list. I know that. Hold on. Let me see. All right. Let me go back. The Patties aren't named either. Nope. Just Kelsey. Who's Jay Harper? He is ISP, investigator. He's first on my husband's list too. He says there's no way he's not involved with it being his land and all the shady things. So yeah, none of the family members, just Kelsey. Not Derek either, and Derek was there to pick him up. So you guys want to stay there for a minute? We'll keep going. I think we're almost done. If you do know them, if so, please explain. I think that's the last thing on the last one. Let me just double check. Yeah. Do you know any of the following people who may be involved in this case? If so, please explain. Do you agree not to look on the internet, discuss with others, or do your own research about any of the names above until after this trial is over? Are you a gun owner? If not, what are your feelings about one's constitutional right to possess firearms? Do you have any concerns about your ability to act as a juror in a case where you will be exposed to disturbing images surrounding the deaths of 2 teenage girls? If so, please explain. Do you have any particular expertise in DNA, ballistics, tool mark identification, digital forensics, or hate crimes? If so, please provide a brief explanation as to your particular expertise. Is it a mega pint? And then here we go. Have you ever visited the Monon High Bridge Trail near Delphi, Indiana? If so, please identify the approximate date on which you visited and the purpose of the visit. And last but not least, are you aware of any of the following organizations and or practices? Sons of Odin, Vinlanders, Asatru, Norse paganism, or heathenry? If so, briefly explain the basis of your familiarity with said organizations and or practices. And there you have it, folks. That's what they were looking for in the jurors. And they sent that to approximately 400 people, they said. Wait, so I don't know anything, but I know a guy named Richard Allen is accused of killing 2 teenage girls. And I can't Google, yeah, that's not going to happen. You're like, wait a minute. I need to know what this is about. Wait, so she's asking this on the jury questions, but told the defense that she's not inclined to even let them discuss those things. Well, I thought it was kind of interesting that there is the talk of Keegan Kline, Ron Logan, you know, those two in particular that Nick had requested for them to not even be able to bring up. I mean, he obviously also requests the Brad Holder and all of them. So I'm wondering if why they're on the questionnaire. So it kind of just puts you back into like, okay, why is Keegan Kline on here? Why is Ron Logan on here? And Ron Logan, okay, the girls are found on his property. Could it just be that simple? Do you know him? Do you know anything about him? I don't know why he would be on there just because they're on his property, but I don't know. This was from my understanding at the hearing in Allen County, she said, I've already sent out the questionnaires, and they asked, I think it was Rosie, but don't quote me on that. I think it was Rosie who said, were our questions that we had agreed upon on the questionnaire. And she responds something along the lines, this is not verbatim, she says something along the lines of like, yes, the questions that for both sides that you wanted included have all been included. So everyone can wish me a happy birthday, Angel Ray. Happy birthday to you. And you're at work on your birthday? Did you or anyone possibly sell Ron Logan some fish? Were you on that bridge that day? Were you on that bridge on that day? Kind of what that sounds like. Yeah. They're like, I happened to be there. I don't know, it's like February 2017-ish. Like they're gonna like be like admit like, oh hey, we might be the other person. And the defense has not one time mentioned Logan or Klein. Not in any type of capacity where they've put them as a third party. No, I think Logan may have been mentioned just because of the land, but nothing in. Can you fill out a verdict form by checking only one box? No. Well, yes, maybe. I guess I'd have to. I guess it would depend on the verdict form. I couldn't. I had to write a whole bunch of stuff. The other notable people aren't named in the list of do you know either, like the couple under the bridge. Yeah. Well, none of the witnesses. They can do that. They'll have a longer one typically closer to when they're doing the voir dire of the jury at like when the potential jurors are brought in. They still get to ask them more questions, and they would probably be like, okay, here's a list, here's a full list of everything. Because remember, at the time that this goes out, she doesn't have the entire list of witnesses because they've only submitted for her to see that they are exchanging witness lists, but she doesn't actually have the list of witnesses, which is one of the things that like Rosie was arguing about was like, hey, Nick over here has got like 140 people on his list, and we have to prepare to cross-examine each and every single one of those people. And then Nick's like, well, we're only probably going to call like 45 of them. We've narrowed it down. And then the defense is like, well, that's great, but we don't know who those 45 are. So we still have to take the time to prepare to cross-examine each and every one of the 100 and whatever that are on his list. And we understand, Judge, you don't necessarily know how many people and who they are because you don't have access to that information. But we're just telling you, we still have to take the time to prepare because he's not telling us the 45 that he's actually going to call. I could never agree to the not doing my own research requirement, at least not in good faith. I know, right? Do you lack all curiosity and live under a rock? That's okay. It's your birthday. You can do what you want. Many happy returns of the day. I refuse to do birthdays anymore since several years ago when one of my grands told me she knew how old I was, 178. That's funny. Yeah, I got an Odinism group text saying, everybody meet today at Mona High Bridge. I would not disagree with you, music. She just doesn't seem like she wants to do any of the things that need to be done. Surprised they didn't ask that. So how tall are you? Idaho Charlie. The answer to the next question, size 11. If BH is on, hey Jenny, if BH is on that questionnaire, the defense should have the right to bring him and Odin into trial. I would think so. Well, I was thinking, I'm saying, does she only put down the names of people that have been like in the filings, and kind of attached to this case in some capacity? But then I would think that she would probably put Derek, Becky, Mike, Anna, Carrie, and then the fact that they put Kelsey in there, I'm like, okay, so Kelsey drops him off, makes sense, but then Derek's there to pick him up, and he's the one looking around for them. Wouldn't he would be a prime witness, like a primary witness to the prosecution? Why wouldn't he be on there? I'm just curious on how they picked the people that they did to put on that list. It is not the end-all be-all list. It's like looking back at the PCA, like I was saying earlier in the live. You look back at the PCA, there's a list of people. It pertains to a certain things. Whatever this list is pertains to whatever she decided it did. They can still ask. They'll give you a whole paper and they'll say, here's all the witnesses, because you're not supposed to know the expert witnesses, the lay witnesses, anybody. And what size sandal do you wear? How tall are you? And do you wear shoes around people that wear sandals? Because if you do, you can no longer be here. You have to leave. You have to leave because you're one of the inconsiderate ones that will step on my foot. I'm 5'3", but it wasn't me. Wasn't me. I caught you red-handed. That wasn't me. All right, so any other questions on that? I think that covers it. Any other final thoughts? I mean, I don't. We definitely didn't progress anywhere in the world of getting any closer to trial. Just more insight into what's the inner workings of the legal system, and what was on that jury form. I thought was pretty interesting. I wanted to share it with you guys. And so I don't know if the person who shared it with me is listening, but I just want to say thank you for entrusting it to me and letting me share it with the world. Off to art class. Let's go. I'm going to go have some dinner. I will be back tomorrow afternoon. We're going to do recap of Karen Reed from today, which will finish off Buchanan and get the beginning of Proctor. So we're going to do that tomorrow. With Delphi, like I said, I'm trying to finish up the Prezi. And I do have a couple more that I'd already kind of spliced some videos together for that I'd like to be able to still review. But if there's any other docs or anything that come out, then of course we'll pop on to read those. But you guys go enjoy the rest of your Monday. We will be back on Tuesday. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And as always, thank you guys for spending your evening here with me. I absolutely appreciate you guys. I know that you guys have thousands of other places you can hang out, and you choose to spend your time here with me. Sometimes to my own, like, I don't know why, but you do like it, and I love you guys, so here we are. But either way, I appreciate you guys. So go have a good Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, Cindy, I just saw that right at the end. Thank you, Cindy. Sweetheart. Aw, thanks. All right, go have a good night. I'll talk to you guys later.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown, down the rabbit hole, where it stops, no one